All right. Well, let's get started, everybody. Today is about agent portals in Darwin Cloud. And I guess one of the first things to say is to make sure that everybody that has Darwin Cloud, everybody that's using Darwin Cloud has agent portals. Now, whether you turn it on or not, that's up to you. Whether the agents use it or not, that's your decision. But it's included in your subscription, and it's included in your subscription for all your agents. It's a great tool, and you're paying for it, so I think you ought to use it. So we talked about this a little bit last week, but the idea of Darwin Cloud was to take the different parts of Darwin that people have been using since we switched to Darwin in, I think, 2017 when we switched off the old version of the original version of Account Tech. That was back in 2017 through 2019. We switched to the new version of Darwin, but it was still in Citrix. It wasn't in a browser. And there were certain things that you couldn't do because they were insecure, like uploading documents or uploading photographs and so forth, or uploading your weekly payroll expense or copies of your accounts payable bills. So some people would use Transaction Plan for organizing documents and photos, and then they would use Darwin Desktop for uploading copies of your like payroll expense that you wanted to have the accounting posted automatically, or copies of your utility bill and so forth. So there wound up being like three different versions of Darwin that people had to use because of the limitations and the security of Citrix technology and any kind of server hosting. Going to the web, going to a web browser, solves all those security problems. It puts everything in one application so everybody can do everything all in one place. And it's even more secure than what we ever had with our Citrix structure. So that's how we got to Darwin Cloud. And now let's go deep in on agent portals. Okay, so when an agent logs into Darwin Cloud, normally the home page is the spotlights. So for every agent, there's a deep spotlight all about them. And each of these little boxes in Darwin Cloud, we call these widgets. Sometimes it just gives them one number. Sometimes it gives them a year-over-year number. Sometimes it gives them a graph of lines, sometimes a bar graph. And sometimes there's a widget like this that shows a list of information like totals from the agent's profile that you want them to see. The most important thing to understand about the dashboards, in my opinion, is they're very flexible, and you can make the agent dashboards be whatever you want them to be. Now, we've set these up with what we think is the right thing for agents to see when they log in. But the reality is everybody has a different opinion about what's the right thing. And so our programmers have made Darwin spotlights so that whether it's for the owners or for agents, whether they're for managers or recruiters, with the spotlights, you can make them customized and designed to look however you want and include whatever information you want. For those of you who haven't played with these spotlights very much, again, each of these little boxes here is what we call a widget that you can drag and drop and combine however you want. And Darwin has currently over 1,600 widgets that you can use to display information to agents or, like I said, to managers or owners. But we're looking at agents today. Now, over here on the right, you'll see totals. Now, these totals that appear for this agent that's logged in are from their profile. But on the agent's profile, when you're looking at it, there might be totals that you're tracking that you don't necessarily want to highlight to agents. Like you might be tracking how much company dollar they've paid in, and that might be on their profile, but it isn't here in the portal because that's not something that you want to share with agents. What the agents see on their portal when they log in and they get to the spotlight, what they see is what you want them to see. That's the most important takeaway. Now, up here next to the agent's name, there's a button that says Add Goals. And the agents or you or the managers or whatever can put in the agent's uh, annual goal on a lot of different metrics, whether it's number of pending deals they're going to write, or the volume, or the gross commission, or the number of listings they're going to take. Darwin Cloud has been designed so that if you put in the annual number, Darwin knows seasonality through spring, summer, fall, whatever, which months do the most business in your office or in the office where the agent works. And so when you hit this little refresh button here, it looks up the seasonality of the office where the agent works, and it takes their annual goal and automatically calculates what their goal should be on a month by month basis. And then with those numbers in place, the agent can then see their numbers on a month by month compared to their goal and cumulatively through the year compared to their goal. Now, like I said, people can design their spotlights for agents to be different. So, for instance, one of our customers likes to show agents their property address and when it was paid and the selling price and what their take home pay was and if they had any bill deducts or third party payments to their retirement account or whatever. So there's a widget for this. And in this case, this client shows them this widget because they found over time when they send the agents out those email notices about you've had a closing, the email commission notice after a closing, the only thing the agents were looking at those notices for was to see these numbers. So what this company decided was, let's take those numbers from the email campaigns and put them in a widget so the agents can see those numbers, which are the only numbers they care about. Let's stop sending email campaigns because we'd like them to use the agent portal more. And instead of sending the email campaigns, we'll tell them if you want to see your numbers, log into Darwin and it's right there on your homepage. They're doing that as a way to drive agents into the portal. It's a choice. So instead of having the graphs right under the header here, they've designed it so that the graphs are underneath this summary report. And so you too can design any of the dashboards however you like. There's a designer that we're going to be teaching on another one of our Tuesday webinars where you can see how websites are designed, and you're going to learn how you can drag and drop and resize spotlights for agents or owners to do anything you want. But that's a class for another day. All right, let's move on. All right, so agents can use the property screens in Darwin just like you can use them, except you're probably going to control which property screens agents can see and which they can't see, and what they can do on those screens, because by default, most of the property screens are set to be read-only so that the agents don't go in there and mess up with the data that your staff has put in on the properties. Now, if you go into the Darwin Help Center, there is an article about, I hope you guys can see this, about controlling what agents can see and what agents can do in Darwin Cloud. So if you go into the Darwin's Help Center, you might want to read this article. I'm sorry?
I pasted it in the chat for everybody as well.
Oh, Adam, thank you. So you can read this article, and it has, sections about the dashboards and the reports and everything. And it gives you some tips and a guide on how to set up the security for agents so you can show them everything you want and hide everything you don't want them to see. But let's just dig into this a little bit. So when you go to the property screens, like it'll look just like your screen because it is just like your screen, but you'll see that a lot of the boxes are grayed out and the save button is grayed out so that we don't have the agents modifying the data. But there's some data on properties especially that we do want the agents to work with. that they know better than us really what should be done with certain properties. We're going to cover that in a minute. But I want you to show you over here on the left here, you can see agents don't have the full menu that you have when you log in as a manager or a staff person. They only have certain options. Like we don't show them the commission breakdown for all the agents on the deal because maybe we don't want them to be able to figure out what commission split different people are on. So we've chosen not to show the commission breakdown. You decide which menu items here on the left agents even see when they log in. Now, as we move on, maybe we let them see the features and the remarks and the room dimensions and everything that's come in from the MLS about this property. And we let them see what agents are on the deal. Now, this is important here. They can see how much of the gross commission each agent is getting. They can see who's getting award for the property. But that doesn't mean they know what split the agent is on. Doesn't mean, they don't know what commission plan they're on or what the agent's take-home pay is. They just know how much of the gross commission are they getting, and with your franchise, how much award credit are they getting. By the way, for those of you who don't know, when you're working in Darwin or agents are working in Darwin, and you see an agent's name that is in orange instead of blue, or red if they're terminated. But if an agent's name is in orange, that means they're an active agent, but their real estate license has expired. So if you go to their profile, you'll see the expiration date on their real estate licenses in the past, and that's why their name shows in orange. Okay, let's keep going. So when you get into Darwin and you're on the people screen, they can, you can see what buyers are on the property and what sellers are on the property, and this hyperlink will take you to information about the buyers and sellers. One really important thing to understand about these property screens, when an agent does a search or when they look for properties in darwin.Cloud, the results that they get, the properties that they can navigate to, are only their properties. So if there's a pending property in the deal or a listing or something that is not their listing or not their pending sale, they can't see it in darwin.Cloud. And when they search, they can't even search for it. Even if they know the address of somebody else's listing, if they're not a participant in the deal, they can't see it in darwin.Cloud. Same goes with buyer and sellers. You can only see buyer and sellers that are your buyer and sellers. Those are the only ones that you can see. But that hyperlink will take you to that person's profile. But sometimes it happens like here, especially with mortgage companies or title companies, it happens that people let agents into darwin.Cloud, but they don't want them changing the information about the lender or the title company. And so they click on it and they might see a little notice that says you don't have permissions. This can be really important because a lot of companies, more and more and more, and this trend is going to continue and just accelerate. Brokers are more and more focused on who's getting the title business, who's getting the mortgage business, who's getting the insurance company business, and brokerages are opening mortgage and title and insurance businesses. So one of the things that can happen and does happen, we know from experience, if you let the agents put in mortgage and title and insurance companies in Darwin, or you let them put mortgage and title companies in SkySlope or Dotloop or AppFiles, companies that feed data into Darwin, it could be that every agent in your company spells the mortgage company different. So this one is in here as Stockyards Bank and Trust, but the next person is going to put Stockyards Bank and spelled out, A-N-D, Trust. And the next one's going to put Stockyard Bank and Trust, Inc. And then the next one's going to leave off the Inc. and the company. And all of that winds up being 5 different lenders in your company with 5 different spellings. And that doesn't really help you at all when you're trying to run reports and see which mortgage company is getting the most business. You don't want to have 7 different entries for the same company. So you may choose to not give the agent permission to go to these screens for mortgage and title and so forth and modify them in any way. Just a little heads up on that. I think that might be helpful to know. Okay, let's look at the escrow screen. So one of the things that you can do, and probably should do, is let the agents see the escrow history on the transaction, when the property came in and how much came in and that sort of thing. But you'll notice up at the top, the agents don't have the ability to write escrow checks or record escrow deposits or move escrow or anything. But it's nice to let them see the escrow that is being held on a property at this time. Going down to the commission page, this is what we talked about before. The agents can see the selling price, they can see the gross commission that's coming in, they can see how the gross commission dollars is being divided between the agents on the deal. But you notice there's no screens here for agent net list or agent net sell, so they don't really know what the commission split is that different people are on. All they know is how the gross commission is being divided between the agents on the deal. So those are the property data screens, but now what we want to look at is the screens where typically, and I say typically, almost always, you do want the agents to be able to interact and edit the property information. So let's just let's dial in there a little bit here. So, for instance, if you want to show the documents on a property, you probably want to allow the agents to add documents to a property, hitting the plus button, and upload documents that you want to have stored on the property. That seems to me something that you'd want to do, and these hyperlinks will let the agents view the documents that are uploaded on the property. One of the other things is pictures, especially if it's a non-MLS listing, because if it's an MLS listing, of course, we'll get those pictures from the MLS and show them here and then forward them on to your franchise and whatever. But what if the agent wants to add more pictures than they have in the MLS? What if they want to change the pictures or change the sort order? They can do all that here, and then that changes how they show in your national franchise and so forth. So I think letting the agents work with the document upload and the photo upload, I think that makes sense. One thing I do want to show you, and this has existed for a long time, but not everybody's aware of it. When it comes to document storage or storage of pictures on properties, up here at the top of the property screen, every property in Darwin can have a email address for the house. So it's some address at accounttech.com, and you decide what the address is. But every house can have an address. Now, if an agent or a title company or a mortgage company or an inspector or a home inspector or anybody, if they send an attachment to this address and the attachment is a document, it'll load into AccountTech and store on the document page. And if they email in a photograph, the system will know that it's a photo that's being sent in, and the photograph will store here in the photograph page and the media page, and then go up to your franchise. So for instance, let's say you have a professional photographer that goes out and gets all the photos on some new listing that you get. If you tell the photographer the email address of the house, the photographer can just email the pictures they've taken into the house as attachments in an email, and they will all load up here and they'll all go to your franchise. Now, after the photos have come in from the photographer, if you don't like the sort order or whatever, you can use the tools here, or the agents can too, with the edit multiple photos, and they can change the sort order around and reorganize the photos however they want. But that's something that is, I think, an underused feature of Darwin, where you can email documents or photos into a property and give the property any email address you want. Okay. Now, you can, as you know, you can um, put open houses in Darwin, and if your franchise tracks open houses, then the open house appointments will go up to your franchise and get advertised. Also, many of the MLSs have open house information that they feed over to Darwin, and if that's the case, we get that data also from the MLS and feed it up to the franchise. But the agents can put it in here too. Likewise, they can put in showing appointments if you're using Darwin to track your showing appointments. And the other thing that I would show you is some companies use timelines, which are essentially like a workflow or a required document checklist. And the agents can see here what tasks are supposed to be done and when they're supposed to be done by. The checkbox here tells them if they're finished already, and this little dark colored thumb means that this task was rejected. So they must have uploaded a listing agreement, but the compliance officer looked at it and made a note that it's missing something, and the agents can read what it's missing right here on the property under the timeline tasks. So these are the primary screens that agents on properties, like there's a lot of screens that agents can look at but not change, but these other ones here, like document upload and photo upload, these are screens that I think agents should be allowed to have permissions to log into and work with and do that. Okay, let's move on. So also when they log in, agents can go to reports. And I think everybody's pretty familiar with reports in darwin.Cloud. The main thing to know, I think, is that you decide which reports agents see. Now, the reports that agents see could be standard reports right out of account tech for like how much do you owe, or your review 1099 review, or your closing report, or buyer and seller reports and so forth. So there's typical reports that you might want to give to an agent, and it's also very likely that you're going to give agents custom reports where you've taken a standard darwin.Cloud report and modified it in some way to make it show more accurately the fields you do and don't want to show. So the agents, when they log in, they see all the reports that you have published for them. But it's very important to know when they run these reports, they don't see what you see. You see the report for all the offices and all the agents and everybody in the company. They only see it for themselves. Now, there's an exception to that, though. If the agent is also a team leader, well, then when they go to run a report, the name of their team will be filled in on the report criteria. I hope you can see this right here. And then a team leader can run the report on themselves, or they can run it on the whole team. A regular agent that's not a team leader can't do that. But Darwin knows, because over here in the drop-down list in your version of Darwin, you have all your teams listed there and who's on what team, and one or more of them will be checked off as a team leader, because sometimes there's more than one team leader on a team, but anybody that's checked off as a team leader can run reports on the whole team when they log into darwin.Cloud. All right. So we're going across the top here. Let me just go back here. We're going across the top. We looked at the dashboard where they see the spotlights, and we looked at properties. We looked at reports. Now we're going to take a look at these other two buttons here in the top of the agent's login, the store and the tools. So this is a very new thing, which is the darwin.Cloud Company Store. The company store is a place where you can put things that you sell to agents. Now, these might be things that you keep in a storeroom, and you sell them things like baseball hats or coffee mugs or whatever. But they could also be services. A lot of times you have marketing services or data entry services, different or transaction coordinator services that you sell to agents for a fee. So just because you have something in your store, it doesn't have to be a product. It can also be it could also be a service. Now, when you are setting up the items that the agents see when they log into the store, we're going to cover this in another one of our Tuesday classes because the company store allows you to, boy, it allows you to automate everything because once the agents purchase something here in the store, the company store notifies whoever in your company is supposed to be the coordinator of those store tasks and making sure that the order gets filled and the agent gets his data entry services or the agent gets their coffee cups or their sweatshirts or their signs or whatever. But it also automates all the accounting. So when an agent orders something from the store, the order is placed, the order will be fulfilled by your staff, to get them the signs or get them the business cards or whatever. But the invoicing for what they ordered happens immediately and automatically, and nobody has to do any work for that. It's all automatic and it posts to your account tech financials immediately. Now, we're going to cover the payment here in a little bit more depth. But one of the things I want to show you is sometimes things that you sell, you want to put in the company store to show to agents. It's something they can buy, but not necessarily something you stock. Let me see if I can explain this a little bit better. So if you have a website that you want the agents to go to to purchase something from an approved supplier, it's not something that you sell, but it's something that you want to make available to them as a resource, That shows up in the company store as a go to site instead of order now. And when they click there, it'll take them directly to the page where you want them to buy the signs or buy the baseball caps or whatever it is. But otherwise, it says order now, and that means that's an order that you guys are going to fill by doing some work for them or going to the storeroom and getting something for them out and bringing it to them. Now, when you look at the company store as an agent's point of view, some things require images or artwork. Some things require text, like the ad copy or whatever, and some of them require a prepayment. So we're going to take a look at what that means and what the agent experience is like. If the agents log in for something that's prepaid and it requires artwork and it requires text, when they first log in, the system's going to ask them to search for a property that this purchase is related to. Now, this would typically be the agent wants to purchase an ad in a magazine, or they want to purchase just listed or just sold cards, or they want to well, you get the idea. So they want to pick the property that this purchase is related to, and so they pick that from your inventory. Once they've selected it, there's a place for them to put the descriptive text that should go on the just listed or the just sold cards, or that should go in the magazine if they're advertising in a magazine or something. The text can go here. But now we know the address and we know the text, and you can see it's a little 5-step wizard here. When they click next, let me show you what happens. Actually, I made a little video of this so you can see it. So they click next. Now, if this is a property that is a listing, Darwin already knows the photos because we got the photos from the MLS. The agent can go in here and can select or deselect the photos that they want to use for this advertisement. But the other thing that I wanted you to see is if it's business cards or something, they might need to upload some artwork that didn't come from the MLS that Account Tech doesn't already have. And so there's buttons there for them to add pictures or videos right up here, as you saw. So once they've done that, if it's an item that needs to be prepaid, they can pay by the credit card they have on file, or they can pay by the bank account they have on file, or they can add their bank account or credit card on the fly, pay for the item. All the accounting is done automatically. The credit card is charged, the bank account is charged, the accounting in Account Tech is done, and the service or the product that they bought is already prepaid for. So we're going to do in one of these upcoming Tuesdays, we have it all about the company store, how to use it, how to set it up, and that's coming in the weeks ahead. So let's take a look at some of the other tools that are also in the Darwin Cloud for the agents. So one of the first ones is their email history. I know a lot of our customers will sometimes get an email or a phone call from an agent. Hey, I can't find my email of the hot sheet, or I can't find my email that you sent me from last week's closings. Instead of going and finding lost emails for agents, what you can do is just tell them to log into Darwin, click on Tools, Email Log, and every email that they've ever received from you is listed here, and they can just click on it and it'll pop up in a window and they can see whatever email they say they can't find. Also, on the tools is where they could download standard Office forms. If you have a forms library of forms you want them to use, you can store those forms there and they can download them whenever they want. Also then on the tools menu is the agent's 1099. So if they click on the tools 1099, they can print their own copy of their 1099 for this year, but using this drop-down list here, they can print their 1099 from any year in the past. So all of this work that we always do year after year about printing 1099s, stuffing them in envelopes, taking them to the post office, mail them, we're done with all that. The agents can just log in and print their own 1099s, and this is where they do it on the 1099 screen. Okay. The next thing that we want to talk about is chat. Oh no, money. Let's talk about money, getting money from the agents. So when they log in, they can also click on credit cards and ACH. So in the credit card and ACH screen, I want to just talk about this. I think I got my slides a little bit out of whack here. So we'll come back to this in a minute. But let me go back to this here a little bit. I got my mouse click a little out of whack here. So remember, the Darwin is aware of how much money each agent owes. So they can log into Darwin Cloud, and if they have their bank account set up online because you're direct depositing into their bank account from Darwin, that means you can direct withdrawal out of their bank account, because that's how ACH works. If you can put money in their bank account, you can take money out of their bank account. So the agents can totally pay their bill by their bank account, or they can pay it by credit card. So in Darwin Cloud, they can initiate their payment of their bill instead of you having to do it. So when they go there, if their credit card is already set up, we'll see it, and they can click Pay Now, and they can pay their bill. And then in Darwin, it's all of the accounting of them paying their bill is all finished. And then the other thing that can happen, if instead of logging into Darwin Cloud, and this is new with Darwin Cloud, you can make an email campaign that sends the agent an email with a click here to pay hyperlink in the body of the email. This is really important because we found some companies and some agents, they get their monthly bill by email and they want to pay it, but maybe they don't remember their Darwin username or password, but they still want to pay. So with this link, you can put this link in the email campaign that delivers them their invoice, and without logging into Darwin Cloud, they can click on this link and they can pay their bill online. So that's a big new enhancement in the email campaign system for Darwin Cloud. So now I want to talk about chat. So it happens if you're an administrator that's working the dashboard and trying to get the dashboard clean, or if you're a transaction coordinator or an accounting person and you're trying to get a deal closed, but you're missing some information from the agent or you're missing some contract for the agent or something, maybe you could call them, but they don't pick up. Maybe you could email them, but they don't read their email. So Darwin Chat is trying to solve that problem by letting you send text messages to an agent directly from Darwin. So you're sitting in Darwin and you click this little down here at the bottom, this little chat button, and you can write a question to the agent about this property that you're viewing right now. The agent will receive that message as a regular text message on their phone. It's nothing for them to install or anything. It's just a regular text message, but it's coming from you and it's coming from Darwin. Now, this message, because this message is related to a property, you're asking the agent a question, and they're responding to you, is all saved within the property record. So not only can you ask agents questions about properties and they can answer you, but the messages are saved right here in Darwin on the property record. So when the agent gets their text message, it has a hyperlink in it. And so from their text message screen, they open up a little browser that's designed, there's a hyperlink in the text message they get. It's designed to look like a darwin.Cloud mobile app, but it's really just a website that's designed to look like a mobile app. So there isn't a darwin.Cloud mobile app that they need to install or anything. When they get a text message from you, they just need to click on the hyperlink that's inside of the text message, and it'll open on their phone this little chat tool that lets them reply to you from their phone, and their reply is saved back to Darwin. Now, if they're already in darwin.Cloud, they can just click up on this chat button up here, and all the people they're having conversations with will appear here in columns of conversations that are going on. Now, one of the things here under the chat, whether you look at chat here or in mobile, you notice like for this agent that's logged in, they've got a lot of conversations going with Jackie Owner. Now, the thing is, with these messages, underneath them, you can see that there's different, there's hyperlinks about what the conversation is about. Maybe it's about an invoice. Maybe it's about a property. Maybe it's about an agent that you just recruited. Maybe it's about their monthly invoice. Well, because you could be talking to the same person about multiple different things, the topic of each conversation is separated here so that you can continue exactly the conversation without having to have these threads with somebody that you talk to. They could be your conversation with the owner could be about 100 different things, and you have to scroll through a huge thread to find the topic that you were talking about. This makes all the conversations that you've got going on topical, and it organizes them all by topic. So you click on it and you can continue the conversation. Now, if they click into any one conversation, Darwin from their phone, what looks like the darwin.Cloud mobile app appears, and they're just talking about one particular topic. But in that same Darwin Mobile Cloud app, if they click this little back button, from their mobile, they can see all the conversations they're in, and they can jump back into any of them. The last thing I think I want to show you today for tools, oh, no, let me show you this before I forget. Since we've added text messaging to darwin.Cloud, and agents can, chat with you live from darwin.Cloud to their phone, we also added some notifications. People forever have been doing automatic email campaigns out of Darwin Cloud, but now you can do automatic text messages out of Darwin Cloud. And one great use case for that is have Darwin Cloud pay attention to when a new listing comes in from the MLS. And immediately, when a new listing comes in from the MLS, Darwin Cloud can send them an email about the new listing, or it can send them a text message of the new listing. But ideally, probably you want to do both to just increase the likelihood that this new listing is sold by an in-house buyer side agent, so that the office, can double side the deal. So that's not exactly an agent feature, but it is an important. This thing about text messaging has given us the ability now to send messages, highly formatted messages that you design in the same part of Darwin where you design your email campaigns. And yes, there's going to be a Tuesday meeting about this too. And you can notify agents about listings as soon as they appear in Darwin, which means as soon as they show up in the MLS. So the last thing I just want to show you is about notes. And you can use this to pass messages on to agents, but agents can use it to pass messages on to you. And really, this is kind of like a replacement for sticky notes that might be all over your computer monitor. But down here at the bottom right, in the corner next to the chat bubble, there's a sticky note bubble. And if you click on that, you get this pop-up window where you can write a note, or the agent can write a note, or the transaction coordinator can write a note, or the accounting staff can write a note. Anybody can write notes about this property. And down here in the menu item, if you scroll down, the last item on there is called Chat Notes. And all the chats about this property are stored here. And all of the notes that anybody has written about this property is stored here, so that you have a way of putting notes on a property that you can refer back to, and everybody can refer back to, all from one place. Now, agents, if you give them the security permissions to do this, agents can write notes too, as well as agents can initiate a chat about a property. So an agent could be in Darwin Cloud, and they could be looking at a property, and they might send a chat message to you in the accounting department. So if you're in the system as an employee with a mobile phone number, the agents have the ability, while they're here in Darwin Cloud, to click the little chat button, a pop-up window pops up, they select you in the accounting department as somebody they want to ask a question of, and so the agent can start a conversation that says, hey, closing department person, I closed this property 35 seconds ago. How come you haven't given me my check yet? Or whatever that might be. And you'll receive that as a text message just as they receive it as a text message. Whew, it's a lot, but I think that's those are the highlights of cloud. And I'm 14 minutes over my budgeted time that I said I was going to take.
Well, it's a good thing you budgeted 30 then.
I think so.
Yeah. Hey, just wanted to, I know we've got a couple of folks actually on the call that use the agent portal quite a bit that I would love to hear from. I know we've got Davey with Century 21 Judge Fight, and I think also Abigail with Premier.
Oh,
I
great.
think they might be on, so can they unmute themselves?
Sure. Hey, I'm here.
Oh,
Hey,
perfect.
Davey.
There's Davey.
Yeah. Yes, I don't know how many agents use it, but every agent in our company of 1,200 has access to this. I would say probably our new agents use it more than anyone because they have to go in there to pay for training. They can order, I don't think many use it yet, but they can order just listed cards there. Many of them use it, I think, for paying their agent bill, updating their credit card, updating their ACH. I see that a couple of our office admins are on here too, learning more about it. So I think as we are, with Darwin Account Tech longer, more and more will use it. But for the people that use it, it is a very good, a good feature and helps us have the agents do some of those things that otherwise an office admin would have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
Do we have Abigail on here too?
Yes, she's on here somewhere, or she was.
Yeah, if she is,
Yeah.
I don't know. We've got quite a few people, so I'm trying to just see if she's actually still on here or not.
How about questions, Teresa, while you're looking for Abigail? Were
Yeah,
there
I
any
think the only
questions that came up?
question that came up that I didn't see, we had a question from Chad asking about sales tax on items in the company store.
Oh,
And
yes. As far as I know, the programmers added the ability to automatically add sales tax to company store items.
okay, so
They
so
added
then
it, I think, last year.
okay, so then the other question was, can you create like rules for different office locations having different tax percentages? Like they can
Oh, that's an interesting
they can
question.
be different, but in the same state or city. And my thought was if the tax is in the company store, if you wanted it to be specific to an office, when you create that item, you could select that as the only office, and then agents that aren't in that office wouldn't even have that item as something to choose. But
It's an interesting question. We'll have to look at that in terms of the setup, but it does raise an interesting question because it's very common that for big companies that are distributed across multiple states or whatever, or
Mhm.
multiple geographic regions, that the products they offer are different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it
Mm-hmm.
could be even that the phone number on the signs that they order is different, but it could be this office has transaction coordinating and that office has transaction coordinating. But on the west side of the city, transaction coordinating costs $3.95, but in the inner city it costs $3.50 or whatever it might be. You know, you might have the same product with different prices in different regions. So when you're setting up properties for sale in the company store, if you don't specify, then all agents get to see it. But if you specify only the agents in the offices that you've designated see that product.
Mm-hmm.
So by default, everybody sees every product. But yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
If you
I know
want
you
to, the
can.
products are company are office specific.
Yeah, I know when you create a new item, you can specify it to be just a certain office. So I was just gonna see here. I just had a couple more come in. Um, are there any functions the agents cannot access on mobile? So if an agent logs into Darwin on their mobile device, are there certain items or menus that they don't see on mobile versus
No, it's a great question. One of the things that we found was when you look at mobile for an agent,
Mhm,
we found that the property screens would have so much data on them, they kind of don't make sense for mobile because you'd
mhm,
have to have the all the details of the property scrolling from top to bottom,
mhm,
and it's kind of silly because they'd have to scroll so far. So we didn't put the review of the property information in mobile. Mobile's mostly about looking at your dashboards to see how you're doing at goals, paying your bills, which is, of course, the number one thing we care about is agents pay their bills, and then the company store and chat. Those are the primary things that are in mobile. Yeah, we haven't put property data in mobile because there's over 260 fields. Just seemed like it was too
mhm,
much data.
mhm. Makes sense.
Now, by the way, for those of you on the call that are broker owners or whatever, Darwin Mobile for broker owners is entirely different. When a broker owner logs in from Darwin Mobile, they see the company spotlights. They see how much money is in each of the company bank accounts. They can pay the company's bills from Darwin Mobile, and then they can chat. But broker owners, yeah, broker owners version of Darwin Mobile is really for spotlights and paying the bills and seeing cash flow and cash on hand. Very, very different than agent's version of Darwin Mobile. What else, Teresa? Any other questions?
Not that we weren't able to answer, I don't believe. So I've got a couple that I'm just checking on and but I think those were the main ones. So I don't know if
We
anybody.
got a couple minutes left. If anybody wants to unmute themselves and ask or talk about anything, please go right ahead. We
Mhm.
got a couple minutes left. Otherwise, we will call it. Oh, there's Lindsay Gallagher. We haven't talked to her forever. We otherwise we will call it a wrap.
Oh, I just got one in, and this may be something. John asked, he said he would love to see next month's pendings in a mobile spotlight for broker owners. Don't we have next month pending, or is it just this month pending remaining?
I don't know. That's a great question. We let's make a note of that. And
Okay.
because company spotlights is one of our next Tuesdays anyway.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
have a
Yeah,
nagging
it is.
feeling because
This
we
is John
know
Kotcher. I
I
do
know
believe it
that
is just the current month. So when you start getting towards the end of the month and your focus starts to go in the following month, you're just not
Mhm.
able to see it in the
Right.
spotlight for mobile.
yeah, that's a really, really good one. And the thing is, I know we have the cash flow forecast spotlights that show,
Mhm.
you know, based on what's in the pending file, this is how much money we have coming in this month. This is how much money we have. We should look and see if we have this much money coming in next month. Because I know we also have a widget that shows what is the average monthly overhead for the company. So you can compare the average monthly
Yeah.
overhead
Love that. That's a great
to the
feature.
expected company dollar. So you can see, well, do I need to start worrying about paying the bills next month or not?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think cash flow is this month and then everything else.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It doesn't isolate next month.
All right. Well,
Good.
one of
I
the great things about
You got the
widgets,
data.
the way that the programmers architected the widgets, and you can see this by the fact that there's already 1,600 widgets in the library. Widgets, when we first finished making widgets, or we thought we were more or less finished, there was only 900, and then broker owners started speaking up and saying, "Well, what about this? What about that?" But the thing is, developing widgets and designing them and publishing them for users is about 1/10 of the amount of time and effort it takes programmers to develop a new report. So
Mhm.
widgets are really rapid development. So we can totally do that.
Yeah.
We can totally do that.
So make sure, as I say, just for those of you who may not be aware, we do have a spot on our website.
Do you
Just
want to show that, Teresa?
Yeah, I'm gonna show it real quick. You got it. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So it's just accounttech.com and it's /cloud now. And actually, right on the home page, there's this little button right here, everything about cloud. That'll take you right to the Cloud Now page. We've got all of the different features and benefits, some FAQs, a list of all of the upcoming webinars. And also, once we have completed a webinar, you can go to the past webinars to get the recordings. And then we're also putting those in the blog post. And then there's also a link for all of our Q&A sessions that we have on every Wednesday following the new feature webinars. So you can go to these Q&A sessions, you can register, or there's also a join now. So if you jump in there tomorrow and realize you're late for the Q&A session, you can just join with the Zoom link as well. So just wanted to point those couple of things out to you.
That's right. So you've got video recordings up of last week's
Mhm.
webinar, and tomorrow,
Tomorrow we'll have today's.
right, but tomorrow, the QA tomorrow afternoon will be for anybody that wants to learn, get hands-on, one-on-one help with setting up the portal for their agents to customize it however they want it. That's what we're going to focus on tomorrow.
Perfect.
And next week, Teresa, what's our next week topic?
Good question. Let me take a look. I think it is company spotlights.
There it is.
Perfect.
That'll be the time to take a look at the cash flow pending next week.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect.
All right. Well, guys, everybody, thank you so much for coming to this class. This is funny. Teresa started putting together the agenda so that we could cover every major new feature of Darwin Cloud and do one a week. Anybody that wants to join in and learn stuff. And God forbid, she's got us booked out to the end of the year. Darwin Cloud has so many new features over the original Darwin Citrix. So we'll be here. Might not always be me and Teresa teaching, but the company will be here every Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.